We're live. G'day, Phil Tarrant here. I'm Executive Editor of Real Estate, Consumer Wealth and Momentum Media. I'm joined by Tom Panos, who heads up the best training organisation in real estate in Australia, Real Estate Gym. He's also our head coach and trainer on real estate business. Tom, how are you going? Welcome to Real Estate Exposed. We've got a name.
We sure do. We sure do. After getting some feedback from our viewers last week, the name of the show is Real Estate Exposed, and I think it's a good name. I think it suggests that we're going to actually bring to the surface things that are behind the scenes, or things that aren't behind the scenes, but they're difficult to talk about, Phil, right? Because it's a subject that, might get people too emotional. But I think that's what works. Alan Jones seems to have mastered that formula.
Oh, he does it really well. And talking about the stuff which is hard to talk about in the game of real estate is often the best skills that salespeople have. Talking about giving people information that they don't necessarily want to hear, but framing it in a way in which is conductive and conducive to a better outcome. So the nature of this show, Real Estate Exposed, this is our second episode. Welcome to you all. If you don't know me, I've introduced myself. I work with Tom quite a lot across real estate business. And then for those that don't know Tom, we've worked with him for many years right across our business as the engine and incubator for smart ideas of how mortgage brokers and real estate agents can sell more effectively. So the base of this show, we've got 3 or 4 topics every single week. This is stuff that's coming in through chat, through messages, DMs and stuff, through Tom's social and my social, about what people want to talk about. So today we've got 4 hot topics, Tom. Let's kick it off. This one's close to your heart. Auctions off the boil. COVID lockdown. Everyone's in a state of distress right now and stress. What's going on, mate? Can we see the end of auctions in New South Wales and we're going to move to private treaty moving forward just because of the nature of the environment, or auctions come back?
Look, the irony of it all, Phil, is that the people that are off the boil are not the buyers. It's the vendors. So the buyers are there. I mean, there's a captive audience. You've just got to get the realestate.com data to tell you that at the moment, particularly in areas that are in lockdown or have been in a lockdown, you've got a captive audience on realestate.com and Netflix and Stan, anything that's in front of a screen. And their appetite for buyers is sky high. But what appears to be happening, Phil, is that vendors are getting nervous. And they're actually sometimes going against economics and taking advantage of a great market where there's a lot of buyers. They're paranoid that an online auction won't get them the results. So, Phil, I have a lot of real estate agents that are telling me, Tom, we know it. If it was our own family home, if it was our own relative's home, if it was our best friend's home, they would listen to us. But getting a vendor to understand you want to sell now when there's less vendors on the market is not so easy. So, Phil, typically for me, like right now, let's have a look at my diary. I'll have a look at my diary and I'll tell you this Saturday how many auctions are scheduled. Okay, so that is the 31st of July. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 scheduled. But based on what's happened the last 3 weeks, by Friday night, people are cancelling a lot of the auctions, taking them off the market. And the vendors are saying, let's wait till the lockdown's over. So are they off the board?
Are agents changing the strategy saying, hey, if we get a good offer, let's sell before auction, private treaty? Is that happening? Or they're just taking them off the market with you to sell them at auction at a later date? Because you told me on this show, Real Estate Exposed, Tom, that you've told your family from September onwards to the end of the year, lock out the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, you're going to be auctioning because there's going to be so many auctions on, mate. Has that changed?
No, that's spot on. John McGrath, the podcast that I do with John for the real estate agents on Tuesday said to me that he is absolutely definitive on that. that the amount of stock that we're going to have hit the market when the New South Wales lockdown ends and open for inspections are allowed is going to be a large like we've never seen before. But Phil, to answer the question earlier on, a little bit of both. It's a little bit of there are properties being sold prior, and agents want to sell them prior because the agents sometimes are nervous about the whole online thing. But generally speaking, there's a lot of properties larger than normal that are being cancelled because somehow the vendor thinks if you're there in person, you're going to get more money than what you are if you're doing it electronically.
And how you're going with the online auctions? I know you've embraced them. Earlier on in COVID, I remember go back to our earlier chats. You were a bit reluctant to do them. You thought, well, it needs to be done in person, but you've really evolved your thinking. There's some pretty smart tech around now to help it. Are you enjoying the online auctions, Tom? Can you get into it, get the energy? It's like there's a lot of theatre, right?
Yeah. So look, I've used a number of platforms. I did one on Saturday with Auction Now. I've had a relationship in the past with Anywhere Auctions. I use Zoom. That seems to be the method I use mostly. I'm very open-minded. Phil, John McGrath told me he did a combination of an Auction Now with a Zoom at the same time. I like Zoom for one reason, and that is if you're bidding now, Phil, I'm looking at your eyes. You are also looking at other bidders, whereas some of the platforms, all you're seeing is a number come up, right? And I just feel the emotional contagion that exists by seeing people, fear of loss, nothing more powerful than having, like, just imagine having your business partner, Alex Whitlock, on the same screen and you're both calling out bids. Seeing is believing. So I'm open-minded. Agents are getting some great results, but I have to say to you, I think, Phil, in a world of no restrictions, on-site will basically be dominating the methodology used in auctions, right? I still think on-site. There are a lot of other things in life that Zoom or, video, for instance, the meetings these days, or anything that you were doing. I did a conference this morning, Phil. I did a conference to about 250 people, Brisbane Powerhouse. That worked on Zoom. But for me, Phil, on-site auctions are not going away, even with digital.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I look forward to seeing you back in action on the ground, Tom. I think we did it last time. Your first auction after the first COVID lockdown, by memory, was out in Belmore somewhere. I actually drove out and watched it. Remember, there was white circles on the grass back when people didn't actually understand social distancing. Your first auction, and I think you didn't sell it, mate.
Yes. Was it Belmore or was it
Campsie? Sorry, Campsie.
It was Campsie. It was Campsie. Yeah. Yes, I do remember. And I remember playing for the camera just in case Gladys Berejiklian was watching. And I wanted to make sure that the message was very, very clear. And by the way, Phil, whilst we're talking about playing for the cameras, may I suggest to every real estate agent that tunes in and watches this, whether live on replay, there is no need to boast about, how much work you're doing at the moment in person. People watch social media. We've got 230 or 240 cases today, right? There's no need to actually sort of be putting on social media, hey, I showed another 10 properties today, right? I'm doing this and that. It might be legal, but there's no need to boast about the fact that you're still able to actually do face-to-face work out there in the marketplace. You can do it in a humble, under-the-radar way because, Phil, there's a lot of cafe owners who rent their own home, who haven't had any money for weeks. And when they're watching a flash, and we're going to talk about it, the successful show-off agent, when they're watching a successful show-off agent raving about their results, I don't think that's a good thing for the community.
Okay, I tend to agree with you, Tom. There's ways you can do it to show that you are considerate and passionate about some of the challenges that many organisations are going through right now. But we'll get into it right now, successful or show off. We're going to touch on this at the end of this particular show today, Real Estate Exposed, but it's a nice segue into it. Do vendors want the flashy, show-off, successful agent, or do they just want someone who's a little bit more under the radar, a little bit more level sort of tempered, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more out of your face and just getting the job done? I guess there's merit for both of them. The successful, flashy agent will probably appeal to some people, whereas other Australians probably just want a good operator who doesn't make a big hullabaloo about it all. And that's probably the tall poppy syndrome that most Australians are probably into right now. Different for real estate. A lot of people expect real estate agents to be a bit flashy, Tom. Is that more of a detriment to them than a helping factor?
Listen, I had a long session this morning with one of my clients, Gavin Rubenstein. We only finished about an hour ago, and he told me about a listing that he listed this week, where he walked into the home. And for those of you that are watching will know that Gav Rubenstein was one of 3 people that have been on the show Lux Listings. And he said that, this particular family said, they just couldn't believe that they were having, someone that they saw as being a famous TV star now that was walking into their house. They were going, this is like surreal, right? And I'm convinced, Phil, that the thing about, and the reason I bring up Gavin is I think Gavin 100% fits that criteria of having the glamour, the nice car, all of that. And he's portrayed like that in the show. And I believe that in certain marketplaces, people are used to go with someone that's successful. Go with someone that's successful, right? Someone that looks successful, someone that dressed successful, someone that drives successful, means that they're good at their job, and it means that they're going to get a better result. Then there are other scenarios, Phil, where people will say, hang on a second. The reason why that guy's successful is he must be able to trick people. He might be able to outsmart us, right? He might have the gift of the gab. So I think that both angles are applicable. But fundamentally, I have a view, Phil, and that is dress and portray yourself a little bit better than the market you serve. Example, that approach would not work in Mount Druitt. In Mount Druitt, that would not work, right? So my approach is always be a little bit better. Don't have this big gap where the person thinks, man, I can't relate to this person. In the eastern suburbs, I reckon, yes, you can be a little bit showy. Out in the western suburbs, tone it down a little bit.
Horses for courses. So make sure you draw. I don't know if you can get them anymore. A Commodore, if you're an agent out that way, and Gab's probably got the right cars for the eastern suburbs based on Lux Listings, which we haven't spoken too much about. Is Gavin happy about his decision to go on that? Is it sort of been an enabler for his business?
Yes. He says that. Yes, he says that it's early on because don't forget, he and everyone in Sydney are operating in a quite restricted environment. Because he said to me, I haven't really noticed much because, I go to the gym in the morning, which he's got his own gym, right? I go there and I work out in my gym. I come, have breakfast, I go to work. And I come home and I don't see much else, right? Occasionally I walk into a house where a vendor turns around and says, hey, we saw you on the show, right? But he says that his words were, I have already seen the benefits of exposure to people that weren't aware of me, 100%,
That's good. No doubt when things are under lock, he'll be on all the red carpets. He'll be one of the A-listers of all the parties. Maybe we can hang on his coattails, Tom, and get a couple of invites to some of those fancy gigs he goes to. How real is it, though, really? Like, he's sort of sharing warts and all his journey, getting quite personal and into his own relationships and stuff. He's obviously happy to do that. It's not too intrusive yet on him.
No, he said to me that it was able to blend into his real estate life very, very easy. This was not a case of, disappearing. And I remember when my mate John McGrath did
Shark Tank. It was a Shark Tank, I think it was. Yeah, he was really good on that, by the way.
He was outstanding. So when he was doing Shark Tank, I would often go see him at the show. It was at Foxtel. I would go see him, and he had disappeared. Right, he was there from morning to night. Right, whereas with this real estate show, I get the impression that they come in, they're all set up. You go there, you do your thing, and it's business as usual for you. It's not a major blockage to the way that you go about things, Phil. And Delene's also a client. So Delene was on there as well. And Delene said to me, I've spoken to her, and Delene said to me, I said to them, guys, I got 2 kids. This is my business that I run. I don't have time to do this. These are the days that I'm available. And they worked in with her.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good, mate. I binged it. I think we spoke about it last week. I binge watched it over a couple of weekends ago. I'm really anxious to hear what Mr. Ray White wanted to speak to Gavin about at the end of the series there. So I can't wait for, no doubt there's a second series coming on there. But one of the good things about this, Tom, is that real estate's always attracted a particular cadre of people. It's an old profession here in Australia. There's always been opportunities for people in real estate, but putting a spotlight on it and seeing some of the glitz and glamour of real estate, no doubt there's a whole bunch of people putting their hands up saying, real estate's going to be my next career. I want to be a real estate agent, and particularly in a hot market where anyone can sell a property, inverted commas at the moment. Mate, how do you as a business owner, as someone like Gavin, who is looking for the next generation of talent coming through, how do you spot the real deal rather than the wannabes? And that's a big issue moving forward. We've got to keep the best and the brightest in real estate, and this market isn't going to last forever. Secrets to spotting talent in this market, Tom, what are they, mate?
I think you can't spot them. I think what you do is you try them, because I think that the whole concept of being able to ascertain what someone's going to be like by having a conversation with them prior to the job doesn't stack up. In fact, I actually recommend to people a concept I got introduced to by Chris Hanley from First National Byron Bay, which is paid work experience. So what happens is, before you actually, say to someone, hey, come on, take this job permanently full time, I'm letting you know that what we're going to do is put you on paid work experience. You're going to come in for 2 weeks. We're going to actually pay you for those 2 weeks. And you're going to get a feel of what it's like being an agent, what it feels like calling people that don't want to talk to you. We want to see what you're like and how you actually interact with internal stakeholders, as well as what you're like interrupting strangers that don't want to talk to you. If you get a taste of that for 2 weeks, then you're going to be able to ascertain, is real estate for you? So I like the concept of paid work experience, but I can't help it, Phil. In my life, I've learned, if you give me a girl or guy who's got a broken heart, an empty wallet, or a hungry stomach, I think you've got the ingredients of teaching someone some core skills that can really crush it, right? I've got a client who I speak to most days. In fact, he's probably the closest client I've got as a one-on-one, because it's not my model. I run an online virtual training business, the real estate gym. But Phil, Josh Tesselin, do you know that Josh Tesselin clicked up his 200th sale from January 1st? Do you understand? 200 sales. Now, in case there's anyone that's thinking, oh, yeah, that's all crap, go to realestate.com and count the sales. The guy's a freak, and the guy fits that category, what I said. Broken heart, empty stomach, right? And I've got to tell you, there's no question about it, Phil. You want to spot talent? You want to pick someone that's good? I will always hire someone that's hungry versus someone that's talented, because you don't have to have a high IQ to crack it in real estate.
I think that's one of the, not really on the IQ side, but there's less barriers to entry for people in real estate than other industries. You do not need a university degree. Like, yes, you need a qualification in order to be able to be licensed to sell a real estate, which is attainable to most people, but you can get in there. You get in there young. You've got to be able to just get it done, and it works well. And that's what I love about real estate. You know, the talent you see coming through, I think it's only good for the industry that it's becoming a more attractive sector. But is 2 weeks long enough to know whether or not someone's got the grit, someone's hungry enough, got a broken enough heart, and whatever the other one was, mate, to make it happen? Do you need longer
than 2 weeks?
Yep.
I think 2 weeks, Phil, is going to allow you to understand whether you've actually got a netball player who's joined a rugby league team, right? 2 weeks is going to help you understand, have we got this completely wrong, right? Will it actually tell you definitively? Absolutely not. But having said that, Phil, I have seen people in real estate do okay for a few years and then become a fading star. And, you know, I'm bringing up some of the comments that are coming here from the people that are watching. If they can endure 4 full months, 6 days a week, that's better than 2 weeks. That's better than 2 weeks. Yeah, look, Phil, all I'll say to you is this, that I think that what you've got to do is, if you want to try and spot talent, that you've got to understand that you're always recruiting. You're always recruiting. What happens is you go to the local cafe. Oh, well, there's a classic example. The local cafe barista had an incredible guy at Haberfield, and now he's working for Harcourt's Greenacre. Because every day you're talking to people is that next possible person that's going to change your real estate business. And you just got to sometimes feel, you look into their eyes, and they give you this look, which is, I won't go to sleep till I win, right? That's what you're looking for in people, right? That glisten in the eye, which basically sort of says, man, I'm all in here.
Yeah, and you'll find them all over the place. Retail shop assistants, JB Hi-Fi or Harvey Norman, and all your interactions. I've met a lot of good people like that who would kill it in real estate. You just got to be aware and conscious of it. Tom, let's go to our final point today. And I think to your points around spotting talent, always got to be recruiting. They're out there. And if you've got blinkers on, you're not going to see them. But getting ready for the next bus, Tom. Now, I try and remember, there's an old children's parable or fairy tale about a fox and a boar or something or other out hunting, and there's nothing to hunt or something or other. And the fox said to the boar, why are you sharpening your tusks for when there's nothing to go and hunt? And the boar said something on the lines of, mate, I'm getting ready now because I'm not going to have time to be ready when it's time to hunt. This real estate market ain't lasting forever, mate. What should you be doing now? How you should be sharpening your tusks as a real estate agent? I probably made a meal of that children's parable. So if someone could tell me the actual name of it, let us know. What are you going to be doing, mate? Because if you're not sharpening your tusks right now, the shit's going to hit the fan one day.
Yeah, so I think it's a great time in the world for actually self-education. I'm actually recommending to a lot of my clients, particularly the ones in Sydney, that have got more restrictions, which means that they're at home more, to enroll in online courses, right? And improve various aspects. Like in real estate, to me, it's really simple. There's two approaches that you got in life. You either believe that, hey, this is who I am. I was born like this. This is my genetics. I can't change. Take it or leave it. This is who I am. That's one approach. A second approach is, hey, this is who I am. But you know what? I want to be better. So how do I get better? I got to have a skills upgrade. And earning is learning. And I know that I can actually improve on where I am. I might never, ever be the Harlem Globetrotters, but I'll still be good enough to maybe make the Sydney Kings, right? And at the moment, I'm actually just a grade basketball player. I'm only using examples of what I'm saying, Phil, that you've got to take the approach. Hey, I can improve. So what would I be doing? right now is 100% is upgrading my skill. The second thing I would be doing, 1,000,000%, is, man, pick up the phone and clean up that database. Because, Phil, we now know that we've got a captive audience. All over Australia, people aren't in the office as they used to be. They're actually traveling a lot less as well. That means that if you're an agent, you've got this captive audience, and you may never get this crisis ever again where you're able to ring people up that want to speak to you because maybe they're just sick and tired of homeschooling and they want to actually speak to another adult, right? And the third thing is that what I would be doing is making sure that I'm building my personal brand in the marketplace. And one of the best ways you can do that is let people know you care. And I think it's as easy as picking up the phone and sort of, like if everyone watching this, just do this for the next week. Call 10 people that you haven't spoke to for some time and say, hi, it's Tom Panos here. Firstly, I want to apologize. I should have been in touch earlier. Secondly, can I ask you, how has 434 days of COVID-19 impacted your life? And can I ask you, has COVID-19 given you COVID clarity? How do you feel about your current home? You'll be shocked at what comes out of those conversations.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm a big advocate of upskilling, Tom, and I think that was your first point. I think is key. One of the things we're doing here, what got me thinking about it, because I reckon it's probably a key skill for real estate agents, both sort of internally and externally. A lot of the leaders here at Momentum Media is doing mental health first aid training at the moment. We're using this time to do that as part of our upskilling journey, and it's really insightful. Just making you more aware and conscious of those type of things and helping you become a better leader of people. And I'm really enjoying it personally. I've always been quite conscious about this sort of stuff, but I'm learning a whole bunch of new skills and new ways to look at things and maybe challenging some of my sort of perceived attitudes and mindsets to stuff. I'm finding it quite enlightening, but I imagine that would be a core skill for real estate agents in their negotiations, their relationships with vendors, because there's a hugely stressful time for a lot of people. Arming yourself and equipping yourself with, understanding and being able to spot and identify telltale triggers when people might be in a bit of a state of flux, mate. I reckon that's a huge enabler.
100%. And on that point, Phil, I've got to say to you, the best piece of counselling advice I was ever given came from a health worker given to me, because it made me realise that this person cared. I want you, so most people feel like I'll get one. I just got one about half an hour ago. I get them all the time, Phil. G'day, Tom. You probably get thousands of messages. I'm not going to mention any names here. But to be honest, mate, I need help. I've watched you go through shit and I'm just rock bottom. How do I get through this? I'll pay you for your time if needed. But right now, mate, I don't see the light. I get a lot of those messages. Wow. And I get a lot of those messages. I get a lot of those messages right now, Phil. There's a lot of pain and suffering. There's a lot of people, suffering silently in desperation, particularly because we live in an industry where being successful and showy matters. And I remember one of the health workers looking after me when I had some bad news. I was in hospital and I was given some scans, right? And the scans were negative. And I was devastated. And the health worker said, Tom, I don't know what you're going through now. And that's, Phil, that's a good thing to say, because most times in mental health, we somehow fall to try and help someone say is, I know what you're going through. Her words were, I don't know what you're going through. And I don't know exactly how this is going to pan out. But what you need to know is that I'm in your corner, right? That's probably one of the most authentic, most practical things, because when you say to someone, hey, it's all going to be good, right? And I know what you're going through. I think when you're stuck in darkness, you think to yourself, you don't know what I'm going through. And how do you know it's going to end up being good? So you get far more trust and credibility when you say to someone along those lines, which is, hey, I don't know what you're going through and I don't know how this is going to pan out. But what you need to know is that I'm with you and you can rely on me and I'm here at any time you want me to ring you. And I'm going to make sure that whatever's needed from me, whether it's holding your hand, whether it's actually bringing stuff over to you, I can be relied upon, you know. I think it's great stuff what you're doing there, Phil, because you've got,
Yeah.
how many staff you got there? Close to 100?
No, about 150.
You've got 150 people's lives there. You've got 150 people's lives and their families' lives and their relative lives and their housemates' lives all impacted there.
I think it's important for everyone, and doing something like that. That's a sort of a formal sort of training, and it's really nice to do. But supporting people with their mental health is accessible to all, and often it's just a matter of reaching out to someone. We do, as you know, Tom, quite a lot of work in the defence space and national security space. But one thing that I've noticed looking at defence, and it's a lot less taboo than what it is in real estate, is open and honest discussions around mental health. Now, a lot of people in the military, and there's a Royal Commission underway right now around this, it exacerbates into PTSD as a result of their great service to Australia, which does end up, unfortunately, in suicide, and that's absolutely horrible. But there's some really smart people in that area. Most of them are veterans, who've served in the ADF or other international military forces, where sort of tech entrepreneurs who are now starting, they're building apps around this, which allows people to reach out for the purpose of saying, hey, I'm not in a good spot right now. I need some help. Now you're talking about, to generalize, big bruiser guys who have served the nation and held the line with a gun in their hand, where the culture is you don't talk about this sort of stuff. But they're very open now around this, and this Royal Commission will no doubt go a lot into that. But apps where you can just pick it up and you press a button, you do a thumbs up arrow, a sideways arrow, or a red arrow, and if you go on there and go, because you might not want to talk to anyone, you press a downward red arrow, it starts the motion. There'll be 3 people who are directly connected with that who will contact you. They'll go and find you, and then if it's super serious, they'll put you straight in touch with the relevant sort of health authorities to help you work through that. So I think real estate could probably learn a lot from that experience of our veterans as well, because you don't need an app to do it, but just reach out and ask for help, particularly in this particular time, which is challenging for all. But maybe if that's the upside for a lot of people through COVID, is upskilling and being more aware of some of the challenges that other people are going through. I think we've done well through this, mate.
Yeah, well, Phil, love catching up with you. We're committed to follow through even post the restrictions here in Sydney. Today, of course, the numbers again weren't fantastic. They've got worse, and they could get worse again, Phil. They could get worse again. I've got to say, Phil, in my own life, I'm not going on August the 28th as the day it's going to end. I've always had the approach that you should play the reverse game, and if it happens sooner, it's a bonus, right? Overestimate, right? Overestimate when it's going to end, right? And that way, you're not going to be hit for a 6 if on August 25th she says, listen, we don't want to break all the good work we've done so far, and for that reason, we're going to extend it for another 14 days. It's a lot easier to actually factor that in now into your head, plan around that basis. And the good news is that we do know, whether you look at other countries in the world or whether you look at other states in Australia, we know that this thing is going to come to an end, whether it's in September, whether it's October. But I'm very, very confident, Phil. I reckon,
Yeah, I reckon. And maybe we could start a theme of a parting word or a parting phrase that we heard. You shared with me with one the other day when we were chatting, mate. But I was reading a book for one of my daughters to bed the other night, and it was about like it's about sort of strong. You can go get the bookshop. I highly recommend it for all those with young girls and boys. It's about sort of it's a story on a whole bunch of different women who did empowering things, and one was everyone's aware of the young 16-year-old Australian here that sailed around the world solo, probably about a decade or so, probably 2 decades ago, right? And one of the quotes that she had was, "You can't change the conditions, but you can change how you respond to them." And I thought that was very poignant for a COVID environment. So I'm going to leave this chat with that. Maybe you can share what you shared with me the other day about taking each day as a time.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to recall whether it was what
it was another healthcare worker of yours who.
Yes, I'll tell you, it was a transgender health worker who, and by the way, an extraordinary person because, and I'll talk about it on another occasion. It's really funny how the angels that appear in your life are people that you'd least expected. This total stranger had such an impact in my recovery, but there was one day specifically, Phil, where I was just thinking to myself, I don't know where to start. I mean, I just felt like things were overwhelming. I couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel, right? I would think to myself, if this happens, then what I'm going to do about this? And then it was just overwhelming. And she said, listen, don't worry about that. Try and make today a fine day. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, if today was a fine day, you're in here for the next 8 hours, what would that fine day look like? I said, I want to watch The Sopranos. She goes, okay, you watch The Sopranos, right? Anything else? I said, I'm dying for a strawberry thick shake. You get these things with chemo. He goes, okay, is there anyone that can bring one in here? Sent off a message. And before you know it, I learned this concept. If you just focus on making a fine day and you end up with a day, it might not be a 10 out of 10, but it's still a fine day. At the end of the week, if every day is a fine day, you got a fine week. A fine week becomes a fine month. A fine month becomes a fine year. Bill, think about it. Your days are your life in miniature. Just aim to get a good day. In a time of chaos, you don't think too far ahead. You just think, let's make today a good day.
Good, Tom. I like that. Embrace that.
Embrace it. Phil, have a fine day. I'll see you next week.
You have a fine day. See you, mate.